All right there, everyone. Great to be back with you. We have a wonderful guest with us today, Colin Plume. Now, Colin is the president of Noble Gold, and I know we have lots of Noble Gold fans out there on the channel. You tell us that in the comments. Noble Gold has been with us for, oh my, I think, Colin, actually, I think you were one of our first sponsors, I think, starting at the very beginning of it all. So we've been together this whole time, months and months and months. It's been wonderful. You've been very good to this channel. And I know from the comments that we get from many people in our audience is that they benefited very much from the services of Noble Gold. Colin is here to help make sense of these extraordinary times that we're finding ourselves in, give us some perspective on the relationship of precious metals to economic crises, for example. And again, I know a lot of you are responding to these relatively unprecedented times by giving gold and precious metals a second look. And when it comes to your portfolios, retirement and the like, and no one's going to give you a better assessment of that. No one's going to give you a clearer look than that, than Colin Plume. So Colin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Turley. And I actually, when you brought it up at the beginning, I was just thinking how our beginning started. And a client emailed me and said, "You're missing out. You got to check out this channel." And I get this from time to time. And we want partners that we can have a like-minded attitude. And I think you're in the freedom of speech business. That's the one thing that I've always connected with people on YouTube, is that you are in control of what you say and who you are. And so ultimately, like, you could say, yeah, I want to work with Noble Gold, or I don't want to work with Noble Gold. And that's you don't work at a station where they dictate who you have to sponsor. And I remember watching the channel, and then I said, oh, this is something I want to connect with. And so it was cool to get that, to have someone. I don't remember, I want to thank them for that, but I don't remember who it is, but someone did, raise the attention in my eyebrows to your channel. And, I dissect and look and make sure, and I'm sure you did the same thing with us, is that you want to make sure that the partnership's going to work. And I think that's the beauty behind, your show and a lot of the shows that we work with, is that you are, there's no, you decide the way that it goes. It's from your mind and you control it. And I think in this kind of environment, to get a narrative that's from a person that is sort of has no restraints either way, it's beautiful. And
it is, and it's neat too, because it is. I think that's one of the whole rise of influencer marketing. Replacing sort of the old radio ads and the like, or maybe not replacing, but supplementing highly. It seems to be, yeah, there's a special connection that we have with our audience. I think they call it parasocial. So we don't have an actual physical personal relationship one-on-one, and it's not like, I don't know, it's not like the ABC News anchor who's so far removed from you. It's somewhere in between, almost like a Skype friend, and then you get to interact on the comments. And absolutely, Noble Gold. When we started, we had a couple of sponsors that didn't work out so well, exactly for the reasons you just said. It just wasn't a match. I remember when we started working together, our commentators, or commenters, I should say, loved it from the get-go. They said, "This is it. Noble Gold is the real deal." And they have responded. I think every time we do a spot, they are engaged in what you're doing, and you're blessing a lot of lives.
Thank you. Well, and I love the comments, and I think it's nice to get that immediate reaction from people. And I think that's what makes this, this kind of medium so exciting, is you get the feedback right away, good, bad, and different. And, you obviously react, and then you get to communicate with people directly, which is really great. And, I think in this kind of environment where, it's interesting, because the way that we're talking is the way a lot of people have been talking for the last few months. This has been it. And I think people are more engaged into these into these mediums than ever, because they're going away from a lot of the traditional TV for a number of different reasons, and they're moving to these types of platforms, and they're getting their information in a different way. And I think it's really where everything is going to continue to go. And we've really valued your partnership, and ultimately we listen to everything that people are saying. We take it very serious, and I think that's why that works. We react as things are happening in the markets. For instance, since the crisis has happened, we were inundated with calls. And so what we did is we went to our staff and basically said, is there people that are willing to work more hours? We hired more. We increased our staff by 20%. So we were working, always open from 7 to 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now we're open 7 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then we opened up Saturdays because of the feedback from, shows like you and just people. We wanted to react and be available to people. And I think that's, a good reason that we've been able to accommodate, the demand. And obviously gold and silver have been a lot of the news, and, all the billionaires that have been buying gold. It's really, it's fascinating to see all this huge money moving into gold.
And you touched on it. I mean, you really did right there in terms of why we love this company, because you're not a bunch of economic theory, though you can do that for sure. You walk the talk. There's a performative consistency in what you say and what you do. So because you just gave us a little bit of a window there. Let everyone know, how has Noble Gold weathered this storm? We're in a massive contraction in the economy right now. Has Noble Gold also contracted, or has Noble Gold found this as an opportunity to be able to expand and to grow, and therefore I think put flesh to the claims that you're making?
Yeah, I mean, April, our business was up about 40% from the month before, and that was a lot of it having to do with people fleeing, in terms of assets, just fleeing the traditional assets and getting into a safe haven. And really, the big picture of what's happening today is that the government has to come in. Obviously they need to get money to people quickly. They're funding it, but there is underlying, there are some things that we have to think about that are going to affect us down the road. I mean, all of the stimulus has to come from somewhere, and that inflation that we're going to see is going to rear its ugly head down the road. Obviously, you want to get money to people as quickly as possible, and they need to cover their bills, and we're covering businesses. But eventually, that's going to have an effect on your pocketbook at what everything costs. And so that's why you're seeing these large investors. You have guys, David Einhorn is a great example. An incredible story. He turned $900,000 in 2007 into $18.7 billion today. And he has this fund, and he has 20% of the fund, and all the funds that he has is in actual physical gold.
Wow.
And for a billionaire to decide that it makes sense for him and his fund and his family's fund to move into gold, when he really, if you think about it, has nothing to lose, right? To become a billionaire, to turn 900,000 into almost $19 billion, you have to be somewhat of a person that's willing to take some risk. So he must think the gains in gold are coming, that they're going to be, we've already seen some, but he must think they're going to be bigger, because even if he lost even $1 billion, he could survive. So him putting all this, 20% of his net worth into gold is a bet on, hey, we're spending a lot of money. We have to sort of spend our way out of this, but he knows there's going to be repercussions to our monetary system because of it. And so that's why he's hedging his bet and getting that physical gold in his family fund and in the hedge fund that he also has other people. There's other people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars that are invested there. And that money, 20% is in physical gold.
What are some of those projections? It was already going up before the whole coronavirus disaster.
Over the last 18 months, gold is up about 28%. So it was already moving up. It already had momentum. And the other thing I will say about the economy is that this pullback in the economy didn't come out of nowhere. Most of the funds that invested in gold, like his fund, David Ihern's fund, they made these investments in gold a year ago. So they were predicting. They couldn't have predicted what happened, the price, obviously, but they knew that we'd been in this bull market for a long time, and they were already anticipating that we were going to have a lot of inflation, and they were already anticipating that. And this is the sentiment from a lot of these billionaires, is that this very low, cheap money monetary policy where we just keep interest rates low is never going anywhere. And the problem with that, it's good if you're risky, if you're a risk taker like these type of investors, but it's really bad for regular people, because then when you're printing money and you're expanding the money supply, that means the cost of everything that we buy is going to go up dramatically. So these investments that they made were done last year, predicting something was going to happen. And obviously this pandemic made it even, unfortunately even worse. Now, one thing that I always say is that bear markets are typically very short, and history proves this. So, do I think this is going to last for, some people said this could be a pullback for 7 or 8 years. Absolutely. I don't believe that at all. Bear markets are typically between 8 and 12 months. And sometimes when they're really bad, they could go for 2 years maybe. And unfortunately, I think this is one of them that could last longer, because there's just so many false starts. I just don't know when things are going to be, when investors are going to be able to just dive in and feel comfortable for a while. And that makes people, investors, uneasy. So this is an interesting one. I don't think anybody has the answers. I think this economy for the next 12 to 18 months is going to be, there's a lot of choppy waters ahead, unfortunately. So Bank of America has predicted gold in the next 18 months will hit $3,000 an ounce. They also think that silver will be in the high 20s.
Wow.
Huge gains.
In the next year, did you say?
So they think silver in the next year will be in the mid 20s, and they think gold in the next 18 months will
18 months. Wow. 3,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, Dr. Turley, I mean, if you think about it, a bank doesn't really have an incentive to tell people to buy gold, right? Bank of America, there's no incentive. They own gold. They have some gold, but you can't go to Bank of America's website and buy gold like you can buy from them. So it's an interesting recommendation, because it doesn't benefit them in any way. If they said you should buy bonds for the next 18 months, that makes sense. Or, if you should put money in our checking account, that makes sense. But gold they don't sell it. It's not their asset. So it's interesting that their analysts had come out and sort of said that that's where they think things are going. But I think that the one thing I will say in terms of positives, if you look at 2008, let's just talk about things that are really good. Number one, American ingenuity is the greatest in the world. And I think that when you look at what happened in 2008 is a lot of people started to think about, what if this is the way that it's going to go, every time there's a crisis, that we're just going to bail everything out. What are things that we can do to protect ourselves? So for instance, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies was created. These alternative currencies were created in 2009 as a reaction to 2008. So you have that whole market. That's a whole new thing that no one ever thought of or was around. Then travel local. I think the big thing that happened in 2008 is everyone just hunkered down in the US because they couldn't afford to go to faraway places, and they started traveling to local wineries or their local beach, and everyone just kind of bought back into it, made in the USA. And I think that really boosted our economy. I think people staying local was a real positive. I think that's going to happen again this year. Once people feel comfortable again, they're going to start traveling. They're going to want to go out. They're going to go local. They're going to drive an hour here. They're going to get in the car. Oil prices are cheap. They're going to get in their car and go an hour, 2 hours, and it's going to be the good old fashioned station wagon vacation, like we used to do, like you used to do with your kids, when they were young, I'm sure. So those are some of the positives that I think will come out of this.
Yeah, and it's interesting there, because on this channel we talk a lot about a dynamic known as retraditionalization. It's a cumbersome word, but what scholars refer to that is that there's just been this trend going on for, oh my, 20, 30 years, where more and more populations are they're going back. They're going back to nation, culture, custom, tradition, localism, as opposed to globalism and the like. And why I love talking to you gold guys is, in many respects, I see you guys as sort of like the ultimate retraditionalists. You're about real money. You're about going back to when money was real estate and the like. Give us a sense of the difference between money as tangible real estate like gold versus what passes as money today in our kind of, international globalist paper money like society.
I'll give you a great example. Let's go back to 1919. So, let's go back 100 years basically. You had a gold $20 gold piece. That $20 gold piece was, they created those beautiful $20 gold pieces right in the early 1900s. And the President Roosevelt felt that we needed a coin that was on par with the beautiful coins that other nations had. Our money, because we were a nation that was fractured at the beginning, obviously, and also not completely united. There was a lot of different money that was passed around, and not all of that money looked great. And it was money that was more of a necessity. Obviously, we were using gold and silver, mostly gold, as currency. And he decided, let's make something that we could stand behind. So he had a sculptor, Augustus St. Gaudens, create this coin, the St. Gaudens coin. And so you go back 100 years ago, you had a $20 gold piece, for instance. And to give you an idea, that $20 gold piece, and that coin is regarded as one of the most beautiful coins that's ever created. It's a little less than 1 ounce of gold. It's 22 karat. It's 22 karat because gold is naturally a soft metal. And so you never would have a 24 karat gold coin, because if you were circulating that coin, it would scratch and scuff really easily. Silver coins are also similar dynamic, even though it's not as soft of a metal. You're never going to have 100% of a circulated coin, because it would tarnish and it would get ruined early. So anyways, so you have that $20 gold piece, and that $20 gold piece 100 years ago, you could have gone out with your family for dinner. You could have bought a suit, and you could have paid for groceries and had a little money left over. Think about that with a $20 gold piece. Now today, that same $20 gold piece would buy you a few suits. You could definitely take your family out to dinner. You could probably go on a little trip somewhere, spend the night in a hotel, and you would still have money left over. So that is the beauty of actual real money and gold, is that you actually have, over 100 years, your buying power has actually gone up and not down, and with that same $20 gold piece. Now, you could go even farther. Some of those $20 gold pieces, and if someone wants to get into this is fascinating, and I won't spend a lot of time, but in 1933, when we stopped using gold in circulation, they stopped the printing presses, and they were supposed to melt all the gold pieces, but they didn't. And so it's really fascinating. So about 7 years ago, one of these gold pieces from 1933 was sold at auction, and it sold for $7 million at auction in a Sotheby's auction in Europe. And it's a great story. And the U.S. government sued because that coin was not supposed to get out, and they sued both parties and basically said that should be our coin. And the story behind that coin that got out is incredible. Wow. It was a Saudi prince had it at one point, and the Secret Service was trying to find it, because actually the Secret Service, it was part of their job to keep these coins hidden. So anyway, so it's a long story, and you can look it up. There's documentaries about it online. But yeah, so anyways, that coin that sold for $7 million was still a 1 ounce gold piece. same coin that was used that people bought goods with on a
Yeah,
daily
it's
basis.
unfathomable. I can never just think of just a a $20 bill ever becoming outside of some Elvis signed it or something that's
True. Yeah.
completely external to it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously the reason that coin sold is because for $7 million, because of that incredible story that
Sure.
the coins were stolen and they didn't know where they were and they were trying to find them for 80 years, and then they came out at auction, and the moral, but what ended up happening in that story is that actually the buyer actually ended up sort of winning, and the US government won in that case because the buyer had, it wasn't their responsibility to know where that coin was coming from, and the seller was too. The seller got it from another party, so the seller was able to keep their $7 million, and the buyer and the U.S. government had to split the coin. So it's kind of it's great story.
Love it.
So yeah, I mean, and that's a 1 ounce gold piece. And those St. Gaudens coins, not the 1933, because I don't have one of those, but other ones from 1920 and 1921, we sell if you want a gold piece, and you would be shocked at the quality and condition of some of these coins that were in circulation 100 years ago. It's unbelievable, and it's great to be able to hold this kind of piece of history in your
a piece of history and just the detail to it, the aesthetic beauty of it. And
they're beautiful coins. I mean, the etching in the coins, the time, the images of the coins, and I think today when you look at being able to have a piece of history that you can put it in your safe or keep it, pass it down, and this is the one hobby that you actually make money. A lot of these hobbies, you don't make any money. A lot of these things that people have done over time, they just kind of drain your account. But gold and silver are the things that have not only held value, but obviously gone up, and they really do well during these times. Gold and silver, and part of it is just the limited supply, but part of it is all the new industrial uses for gold and for silver. There's so many more uses. I mean, everything electric, everything you can think of electric has silver in it. So those uses aren't going anywhere. And you can see it with oil prices dropping to such a low point. It's just people are moving away from oil. They're moving to electric products because they're cheaper. They're more effective. Silver is recyclable. There's thousands of reasons why they're using it. So it's not just because people want real money. It's because these metals have industrial uses also, and that helps propel the value up also.
yeah, that's so fascinating. I remember just the whole ownership element was brought home to me. I actually had the honor years ago of meeting Rush Limbaugh in New York City with some friends of mine. We went up when he was doing his TV show, and we all kind of lined up, and we were getting to meet and greet and all that. And one guy took out his $100 bill. He was getting ready to have Rush sign it, and I guess one of Rush's assistants would have said he can't sign that. And the guy said, "Why not?" He said, "That, sir, is federal property. He is not allowed to sign that. You do not own that note."
Bill." Yeah, that's true. That note is it's a Federal Reserve note, and it's true. I'm surprised they were so sticklers to that law, but listen, I get it too, and
yeah, this was back in the 1990s. I don't know if they were all freaked out back then on it, or
yeah, that's true. It'd been funny if Rush just took the bill and put it in his pocket.
That's right.
So thank you very much.
He could have. I could see it. No, Rush.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say. So obviously, we've got a lot of people on the channel who take advantage of Noble Gold. They love it. I'm a gold guy. What about for somebody who has not yet actually taken the plunge? They've wanted to. They've been thinking this is part of the reconsidering element here. They've wanted to. Where do you start? Do you start with an ETF? Or what's the difference between like an ETF and maybe some physical gold? Give some clarity there for us.
Great question. Absolutely great question. We get this question all the time. And I'm a firm believer in diversification. So I have clients that buy physical gold from me. I have hedge fund managers in New York that buy physical gold from me. They obviously buy ETFs and gold too, because they're day traders, right? They want to move in and out of it. And if you want to move in and out of something, an ETF is a very effective way, because it's just, you can process that transaction very quickly and very easily. The only downside with ETFs is you never really know how much gold that fund actually has. And there are a lot of reports that it's like 100-to-1 ratio. So if they actually ever came in and they, COMEX came in and tested to make sure that they actually have enough gold or silver, depending, there's a lot of reports that it's usually about 100-to-1 ratio. And I will tell you, I believe that, and I can tell you why I know that's true, especially right now. Right now, getting physical gold and silver is so difficult on the physical market, and they're supposed to back up all their contracts. Their contracts have gone up pretty considerably. And I can tell you without a doubt that they don't have enough gold and silver to back it up, because nobody's been able to get it, because all of the mints and all the refineries have basically been shut down. They're just kind of opening up right now.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter on the exchange, because they're still selling. They're still selling contracts. So I know for a fact there's absolutely no way that they can have all those contracts. Now, if they sell a contract and they say, well, we'll fulfill that contract and we'll put silver in our vaults, but it's not going to be there for 60 days or 90 days or 120 days. I don't know if that really fulfills the contract that somebody bought. So, but day trading it, I think it's a good way to do it. What we do is actually the physical gold. So whether you're doing it in an IRA, so you have an old 401k, and obviously a lot of people right now are saying, well, I'm not working, I lost my job, I have this 401k, do I keep it there? What do I do? We can move that into physical gold. It's actually gold that you own. It's not a fund. You own the gold and silver that you buy. It's not owned by us. We just help you acquire it. We do the paperwork for you. We have a full staff that can, help you do the paperwork. Obviously, everybody hates doing paperwork. We have a staff that will help you do that. So we're in the physical gold business. So for people that want the ultimate control, and they want to know that the investment they buy is theirs, that's what we do in a self-directed IRA. Or if they want it at their home, we can ship it to their home. And I would say my overall recommendation in anything, whether you decide to buy gold or not, you can learn about gold from us. We have free guides that we can send to you. So we can send you tons of free information about guides. You can call us, ask questions, all free. But you do want to take control of your money if you have the availability. It's always a good idea to move an old 401k into an IRA and direct it and be the boss of your financial future. So whether you do it with us or with anybody, it's good to move it, because once you leave an employer, frankly, you don't get the same kind of service. The fees are going to add up. And really, if you look at most 401ks, you don't have the flexibility to buy Tesla or whatever you want to buy. You can't do that in a traditional 401k. I don't know if you've ever had one of those, but it's usually just made up of like mutual funds that you can pick. And a mutual fund is just it's a company that buys a bunch of companies. So I think that's the best thing to do. That would be my best advice, is whether you decide to do gold and silver is ultimately your choice, but definitely you want to take control, move it out of there and get it in your hands and be the boss of your financial future.
That is excellent. That's wonderful. I do think you I set you up now. I said, you're going to have to bring clarity in a really confusing situation. I think you did. I think you spanned the world as a bit. It's also interesting too, that speaking of it, you're mentioning how gold is used in electronic products and so forth. It still remains extremely popular in other countries as well, like India, for example, correct? So they're always buying. I guess, again, it's that part of that re-traditionalization that's going on.
Well, because they don't trust their currency, right? So they know that if they have gold in their hands, they know the value of it. And even on such in that country, it's obviously you have the wedding season that's coming up in August. So that's part of their wedding season, is people give gold as gifts. And that's a big push. Is people want that. And obviously jewelry demand this year globally is going to be down, right? I mean, I don't think people are so concerned about, what gold they're wearing on their body right now. But I think that industrial demand is easily going to pick up and outpace that right now. Buying gold as a currency is also going to outpace that. But in India, it's interesting. If you look at, even in the poorest parts of India, they buy gold, and what they do is they pool their money together to buy a gram of gold, which a gram of gold is literally, it's as small as your fingernail. And you can have 4 or 5 families buy that together because they believe so passionately that gold is real money. And if you look at their history and what gold's been able to do, they've proven it to be right. And that's the beauty is gold. The one thing about gold that I always say that people need to keep in mind is that no matter how much mining gold is in the whole world, the gold supply only goes up by 1% per year maximum. So unlike the dollar that's mass produced, unlike other things that are mass produced and easy to produce, it's really hard to grow the supply of gold, which gives it that supply and demand value that everybody wants.
And enables it to be that hedge against something so volatile as the market and the like.
Exactly. So, and listen, the nice thing about gold, you can take it anywhere, right? I mean,
Right.
you can put $1 million of gold in a shoebox and leave the country if you needed to. So I think people like that liquid wealth ability to be able to get it out and kind of go different places. And that flexibility is nice. The privacy, people like that private aspect, because obviously every other account, savings, checking, 401k, this, that, it's all, everybody knows where the money's going, any wire, movement of money. You buy some gold, you put it away, you're safe, it's yours, right? And people like that having that, that sense of security. And I think
that real estate. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's similar in buying, like in buying real estate, in that you're buying something that has that limited supply. That's why real estate is such a great investment. A lot of those billionaires that I talk about, a lot of them made their wealth in real estate. And now they've made a bunch of money and they're buying gold. It's kind of to back it up. So it's interesting. And I always look to see what these people that have created this massive, what they're doing. And I think if they're doing it, they see the value, then I, it's something I want to replicate.
And the India example's neat too, as we wrap this up. But I think that's so fascinating that, see, you don't need a lot of money to start investing in gold, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the great thing. I think the first thing is education, right? I think the most important thing when just to get example, when you started talking on YouTube, you did the research. Does it make sense? Who's the audience? Can I grow this? You spend time, you research it. I want people to do that with us. I want people to call us, research us, check out our reviews, get the free information. I want them to do the exact same thing and spend the time. Our staff has all been trained by me. They all have the attitude that I have is the exact same attitude. We never high pressure anybody. We give a lot of information. Everybody that's a representative of our company, they buy gold, they understand gold, they own gold, and they're going to give a lot of free information and give a lot of people, answer a lot of questions. The one thing that we pride ourselves on is getting people all the information in a way that they can digest it, understand it, and then we let them make the decision when they're ready. And that's the most important thing for our company, is that people get into this and they feel good about it. And once they get the goal, they feel like, I made the right decision, and they got everything that they wanted.
And that's why we get those wonderful comments whenever we feature on the channel. Colin Plume, thank you so much. President of Noble Gold, thank you so much for being with us. We'll have a link down under the video for people to get more information. Download that free investment guide. They're going to love that for sure. Thanks again, Colin.
Thanks, Turley. Appreciate it.